right.
Is Jammer joining us tonight or not? I know Jones is stuck somewhere at school. Got something.
Jammer can't join.
Oh, fuck. So it's just you and I? I and you.
Everyone's favorite duo. Dynamic duo. So here's the thing. Ready to do a thing?
Yeah, let's do a thing. Are we going to do anything or something?
Something. I was using Jonesy and Jammer's catchphrases. We're like, here's the thing. And then at the beginning, Jonesy's always like, ready to do a thing? Should we do a thing?
Yeah, let's do a thing. I'll do a thing.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast, the flagship, premier, and international podcast of LRMonline.com and on the Genreverse podcast network. I almost forgot what we were called. Today, it's just the dynamic duo, if I left the opening in, just me and my friend Danny. How are you doing, Danny?
Or wherever you are, good morning or possibly good night. I have no idea who's listening and where you are or when you are.
Or, also when you're listening to it. Probably won't be up until the evening, even where I live. So today we are going to be, of course, doing the news, and then we're going to have a quick discussion about the episodes of our two favorite shows, Book of Boba Fett and Peacemaker. And then finally we will...
Is it going to be a quick discussion? Is it going to be quick?
Well, we're not doing half a season this time. And we also need to do Scream 5.
Oh, yes.
Or I meant Stab 8 or Stab or whichever. So, which we both had the pleasure of seeing.
Scream Requel 1. Part 1. Redux. Whatever.
Redux. I love the requel term, but we'll get to that. We're saving spoilers till the end for all you people who just want to hear our beautiful voices discuss this week's news. So, you ready for the news, Danny?
Go ahead.
All right. I actually have it in a sweet order that should cause segues to be delightful. Piece of news number 1. We're starting in a galaxy far, far away. Mary Elizabeth Winstead has been cast in Ahsoka. That's how it's pronounced, right? I've never watched any of the... And we obviously, that's all we know about the role. That's not like they're going to come out and tell us who she is. Do you have enough animation / comic knowledge to even make a guess on who she looks like?
Comics, no, but I have actually just finally, don't hate me, Star Wars fans out there, but I've only just finished Rebels. And I was actually quite pleased that I've just finished Rebels. When we get to talk about the latest episode of Boba Fett, there's some links there that are quite poignant, particularly when it comes to a certain character that is in this week's episode of Boba Fett. There are a few characters that I'm familiar with from the cartoons that I think this young lady could well be, but there are quite a few. She does fit, based on the cartoons and the images, she does fit quite a few. And I think that means it's quite exciting because it is going to be a lot of speculation right now. I'm kind of hoping she's playing, shall we say, a bad guy and is actually a member of the Imperials. I'm kind of hoping that that's where they're going to lead with this. But there are a couple of other Mandalorians that she could fit the bill with. So it's exciting. I think she's great. The latest film I saw of hers was that one that was on Netflix. And just as I started speaking about it, it's completely gone out of my mind. Kate? Is it Kate?
Oh, yeah. I really want to watch that. I forgot.
Which is really, really good. I mean, it is another one of those one character, whether it's male or female, going on a bit of a rampage. But this was particularly well done. It had a great little story to it. She was basically slowly, spoiler alert, anybody out there, she was basically slowly dying throughout the film, and she was on a race against time to find out who, what, when, and why. Yeah. And she does great in it. She's handles herself incredibly well. She's a great actress for, as you can see through the film. If you haven't watched it, please watch it. She does show great depth with the way that she handles the fact that she's dying. So from the beginning of the film, she's sprightly and got some issues, but full of piss and vinegar. And as this film goes on, you could see that she starts to wane in both energy and the way she handles the character with her facial expressions and her acting, etc. But she's got the action chops as well. Really, really fantastic. And the way that the film is directed, the action scenes, clearly is her doing most of the stuff. And that's a good sign, which leads me to believe her role in Ahsoka is going to be more of a physical one and not just for her acting, shall we say, which means more likely a Mandalorian character, perchance. But hey, I ramble. It could be many characters. I'm just happy to see her in the show.
Yeah, it definitely could be a lot of characters. Just even in the movies, it's like Star Wars is obsessed with brunettes. Whenever you see a woman, like think of like Rogue One, Princess Leia, like Solo's girl, Kira. It's like they're all almost the same young like brunette actress. I love her. She's actually my number one crush. I would even go as far to say ever since Scott Pilgrim versus the World. She was Ramona Flowers.
Yeah.
Excellent role in that. I loved her in Birds of Prey. I wish she got way more screen time in that. She was Huntress. But you can't say that movie had good action sequences, because I was watching like a stuntman reacts video and he's like, look, the people are falling before they're hit, and like
I don't remember that, but if it was a stuntman follows, I mean, I remember seeing one about our favorite everyone's favorite Star Wars film of the sequels, where they were talking about the throne room scene. Remember where the not Imperial guards.
I saw that one get torn down by the same guys.
And now when I do rewatch it, and for the record, everybody, I do actually really like that film. But when I watch it now, it's almost, there's a lot of baton twirling and saber swinging around without any real, I'm going to fucking hit you with this thing.
Shame that got pointed out to me, because I really like that action scene. But once you see the video about it, you're like, oh man.
You were probably like me when we first saw that, and I can't speak for you, but when we first saw that, I saw it on the big screen, and I loved the way it looked, the contrast of the colors, the reds and the blacks and stuff. So I guess the first time we watch it, we're looking at how wonderful the whole thing looks from a framing point of view, the color palette point of view, and all that cool stuff.
Lightsaber,
it's only
and Star Wars
that you start to nitpick out a little bit. But yeah, anyway. She's whatever role she's got, I'm sure she's going to be fantastic, and I'm looking forward to the first season of Ahsoka.
Yeah, same. I mean, honestly, usually I'm not that excited for the Star Wars series until they get close. But
I was just about to ask you, are you sure you're excited about this? You might see a character you've seen before, Nick, or a world you've seen before, and we know you fucking hate that.
Yeah, that's true. Well, no. We can talk. No, I'm starting to enjoy that in the Mandalorian universe, especially with the last episode of the Book of Boba Fett. It's just I'm not crazed for it like Marvel. Or like right now, I'm like, I fucking can't wait for Moon Knight. But I'm like, whatever the next Star Wars show is, I'll definitely watch it. But I guess the Kenobi's the one that I am most excited for. Even though it's also the one that could do the most damage to what is.
Yeah, it's the one that's on the knife edge a little bit. It's got a but. Ewan McGregor's involved, and at the end of the day, I think he greatly enjoyed being Obi-Wan, and he was definitely, I think everybody will agree that he was the standout performer in the prequels. You know, I mean, it's not hard to find it is quite hard to find something good in the prequels, but he was definitely the standout person. You could tell he was 100% invested in the script as it was, and sold it. And of all the characters having to say that dialogue, he was the one that gave it the best shot. So I guess by saying that, for me, it means that if he's involved and he was happy with the script, etc., then it's got a better than, above average chance of being good. I don't think we need to worry as Star Wars fans. I think it's going to be just okay.
I'm just worried when they announce stuff like just rumors we've had of like casting young Luke Skywalker.
Yeah,
it's like I don't want too much. I don't want too much filled in.
That could just be in the exactly. But that could just be in the distance. It could be one scene of a young Luke polishing his sand speeder. That's what she said. I don't actually want to see Luke polishing his sand speeder, but you know what I mean. It could be just a distant shot of him on the moisture farm. We don't know what that is, and we can't really comment until we get to see it. I know the things we're nervous about, but and when we talk about Boba Fett later, there's been things that we've been nervous about, and we've not had any reason to worry, really. I think it's good. Yeah, if it's Star Wars, I'm in from the very beginning. Anyway, I'm more of a Star Wars person than you on the Marvel things, but yeah.
If it's live action Star Wars, I have no excuse not to watch it. It's just my thing. Like, even if it looks like crap or I hate it, as long as it's live, I just don't watch the animated stuff. There's too much of it and I hate the style. So fans will hate me more than you for just you just finished Rebels. I won't watch that stuff at all.
It took a while to get through Clone Wars. I didn't like it when I first started watching it, but I persevered, and then I can't remember what season it starts to pick up from, but certainly get through season 1 and most of season 2, and it's worth it. And I'm glad I did, because it's made me appreciate everything that's come afterwards with as far as Ahsoka's concerned, and Mandalorian, and now Boba Fett, and in the future when we go into Obi-Wan, it will add more context and texture and understanding of these characters. And that's made me enjoy these shows a bit more, because I've got that, I know what that is thing, whereas a lot of people probably are like, well, what the fuck is that? And what is that?
I've had to watch a lot of videos online to fill in some of the stuff. And I really think when we get to it, this episode of Book of Boba Fett filled in something for me that I got in a short explanation of online, but they did a really good job of showing it. And I was like, oh, cool. Good. So more Star Wars news. On his Instagram, Anthony Daniels, who of course plays C-3PO and had another cameo as without a suit in a Solo, like he was on, is the planet called Kessel? That's why it's the Kessel Run? Yeah, I think, on Kessel. Correct. There's a picture he posted of himself wearing what looks like an older version of a mocap suit, not the stuff they currently wear. And he even, people are like, oh, what's he doing it for? Is it Star Wars? And his comment is literally, suit that fits, mocap, #mocap, #Ealing Studios, #C3PO, #I am C3PO, and #Star Wars.
Well, I actually remember finding that and posted it on our channel to see what the conjecture speculation was. It was it could be anything, but it was the fact that he hashtagged C3PO. Now, I know that's the role he's most famous for, obviously, and his Instagram stuff is mostly him at Comic Cons, etc., being C3PO, obviously out of the suit. But the fact that he hashtagged that in that new or old mocap suit, I think that leads me to believe it could be some sort of, it could be an advert. You've got Super Bowl coming up soon, right? It could be a Star Wars advert. I don't know. It could be part of some other advertisement, promotional material. It could be part of, you never know, it could be part of Star Wars, their Disney's Star Wars worlds or rides or whatever they've got. Maybe Disneyland Paris is opening a Star Wars. I don't know. I didn't look into it deep enough for that. But there's many things it could be. But the fact that he hashtagged 3PO leads me to believe it is Star Wars and not some other mocap work he's doing.
Yeah, because I mean, he's not known for the mocap, for doing mocap. He's just known for
the. He's not Andy Serkis, is he? He's not someone that is. Yeah, gotcha.
He's known for the 3PO walk, which usually is forced on him because of the way he can't bend his knees. So I'm sure he's nail it without the suit. So I'm hoping I thought maybe video game, but it's like they don't need that much mocap for a video game. You can just easily animate 3PO. So I'm hoping he will be popping up somewhere soon. In one of the shows.
Yeah, because
he does the voice.
It could be Ahsoka. Yeah, it could be Ahsoka.
And newer things are all possible too. But in fact, the Super Bowl thing almost sounds most possible because otherwise you think Kathleen Kennedy would kill him or hire Feige to kill him, borrow one of his hitmen to be like, you're just spoiled that you're going to be, that C-3PO's coming back.
Yeah, he's going to be put in the naughty corner along with Tom Holland for spoiler and shit, right? Him and Mark Ruffalo they're all gonna be, all three of them in the naughty corner. You can't be trusted anymore, boys. Shut the fuck up.
All with Jamie Foxx, who I was gonna mention. We were talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi because I get the same feeling from him in the early Spider-Man stuff where he was like himself in the ads and he looks so fucking excited to be in Spider-Man. And that reminds me of Ewan McGregor's excitement every time you see him talk about Kenobi. So yeah, it's up in the air what he's gonna be in, but I think it has to be something semi-important to hire him for more than just his voice.
Yep.
So something is pricey, and it could be a new Star Wars ride, or you just need a motion capture of him, and you can even not necessarily. I mean, maybe that's why this suit looks so different. Is maybe it's designed to capture his movements for like a robot recreation, like they used to have at Star Tours. So.
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that's a good point. It could be that too. Yep.
Yeah, I never considered your options, so that's interesting. So, continuing in the Star Wars world, EA officially announces 3 new Star Wars games from Respawn. And again, we don't have a lot of details on it, but we do know we're getting a new game in the Star Wars Jedi series. So, Fallen Order 2, probably, or just a different title, but the continuation of that story, which I know some of the ending parts, but I didn't make it past the second level. Not because I get bored, but I get distracted by video games I can play mindlessly, like Jurassic World Evolution 2 or Civ 6. No, it was a great game as far as I made it. And again, I'm not stuck in it. I just got distracted. Did you? Oh wait, you don't even Xbox these days. But I hear you're being tempted back into the world.
Gameaholic. Jonesy keeps trying to drag me back in, and it's news like this that keeps trying to drag me back in as well. The only time I've dabbled recently, and I didn't get my own system again, but I used my nephew's what PlayStation we're on, 5, 7, whatever version we're on now. Star Wars Squadrons. I was quite excited about that and did buy a copy of Squadrons, but I only bought the game. I didn't buy the system because that meant that I was only going to play it when I was at that house, and that was limited time, and I wasn't then going to get dragged in. So I'm afraid I've got nothing to add this because I've not played those games. I've got no input on whether they're good, bad, or ugly, or whether or not we should be excited about this. Only tidbit I have is that I have heard that a certain droid that is in the Book of Boba Fett is from the games.
Yes. He's like your little buddy.
And I've never seen that, but there you go. That's they're doing a nice job of tying everything together. Now, whether that means that what happens in the games is canon, I don't think so, though, because you might be able to answer.
I think the game is canon.
Type of droid. Well, it was a type of droid, but not necessarily that one. Like, for example, it could be an R2.
It's not the same one. No.
But it doesn't mean it's R2-D2, right?
It's a type of droid, I think.
Gotcha. Okay. In that case, then they may well not be canon. So
it's like how there was like baby BB-8. Or no, not baby, like black BB-8 or whatever in
was it? Where?
Some scene inside an Imperial base. There's like a
oh, I don't remember that.
Empire
in
colored
a game
BB-8.
or in one of the shows?
I think it's in Last Jedi, maybe.
Oh right, okay. Oh, I don't remember that, but okay.
When they're sneaking around, he's like in a box or something to go along with Finn and Poe or whoever's on the mission, and the other BB-8 almost notices him. Yeah. I don't think that's a deleted scene because the deleted scene is excellent. You've seen the Tom Hardy deleted scene in Last Jedi, haven't you?
Right. Yeah.
I love that. A stormtrooper slapping another stormtrooper on the ass.
Yeah.
And like Tom Hardy with like a southern accent.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to watch episode 8 just to see a black BB-8 unit, or BB unit, I should say. But it's a cool add-on. But yes, nothing to add on the games, I'm afraid, buddy. That's more yours, and sadly Jonesy might have more to add.
Well, I don't have a next gen system, so I'm gonna be left out of this too. But the other two they announced was a new first person shooter. Could be related. I really actually liked the new Star Wars Battlefront 2, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was another Battlefront game, even though they do have a history of first person shooters, going back all the way to like early PC and like Doom style graphics. Like you could be a character like Han Solo or Boba Fett, there's so many gunslingers in the universe. It could be more of a traditional first person shooter with a linear story. It doesn't necessarily mean it's Battlefront. And then a new strategy game, which excites me the most because some of my favorite Star Wars games have been strategy games. But yeah, now that we're on to video games, I have another video game story. See, we're just segueing through all of this. I put them all in a nice order on the top of my page.
That's what you've done. You've put them in a nice order. We didn't get the segue from one to the other, but obviously it depends what the other game you're going to talk about is. Again, probably actually I've got nothing to add.
Just in the game world. So there's some speculation for us.
Oh, right.
The Rock says he's adapting a video game into a film. We're going to bring one of the biggest, most badass games to the screen, one I've played for years. I'm really excited to bring it to fans around the world. What game do you like? Let's speculate now.
He's going to be in a Doom movie, is he? He's going to make a Doom movie.
Maybe a reboot where he's still in it.
Or a requel. Maybe it's a requel. Maybe he didn't die in that one. Well,
I forgot he was in that. That was like back when he was just starting.
And that was with our favorite Judge Dredd character as well.
Yeah. And Bones.
Yep. Yeah, he's yeah, I'm trying to think, isn't it? Even as we're talking about that Doom film that is out there that does exist,
and he's done Rampage. He's done another video game movie that I didn't watch.
Well, what other big ones are there really? We got Uncharted, we've had Tomb Raider and stuff. But is he going to be in Grand Theft Auto?
Ooh, Okay, so the first one I see, I'm looking at comments of what people are guessing. Someone says Call of Duty. That kind of sounds too generic. You can make any kind of
Yeah.
like movie, and just because the name Call of Duty's on it doesn't necessarily. Well, I mean, I guess the modern warfare, at least especially the reboot. It was like it wasn't actually a remake. It was the last one they called that is like Scream 5, where it's like a redoing of the completely different story, but the same characters in the same time period. Like not even a sequel. It's not even a requel. It's just more like a complete reboot. Those have pretty good stories. But the other one
they are war films, aren't they? I mean, that's not something war films. They are war-based games. What about something more on the lines of? Well, I suppose we just had one recently, but I was just thinking on what's the Splinter Cell stuff? The Tom Clancy games.
Oh, that would be Splinter Cell.
What about one of those type of games? Would it be something like that? But we just had that one recently, though, didn't we? That was a Tom Clancy.
He doesn't look like, I don't know. Someone pointed out one that would fit his physique perfectly. That's the other one. God of War. Someone thought of that one, and I'm like, oh my god! It's a PlayStation franchise. He says he didn't say how many years he's been playing it. It's not like he's like I've been playing it for decades, but he looks like the bad guy's big. It's like I haven't played it either. I think it's like Norse mythology or something type of game.
Okay,
like
so that was going to be my next question. What type of game is it, or kind of?
I believe it's a third person, like you don't have a gun, obviously, it's not, but like you have like big old like double swords and stuff like that. Okay. And I mostly know the covers, but just when someone pointing that out, it's like, oh, that has to be a game. The character is his physique, he's not he can't be Sam Fisher, which I think his name is in Splinter Cell. He's too fucking big to be stealthy. But God of War, he's got the body to play Kratos, I believe the character is.
Is that a big game? I mean, is it a multi-million selling unit game?
It's a big franchise. There's at least 3 games in it across at least 2 PlayStations. There's probably a new one coming out on PlayStation 5.
Is it PlayStation only, or is it cross-generation on okay. All right.
So I mean, it's not cross-platform, but it is cross-generation, as in like it's been on I think it goes all the way back to PS3.
Shit, so it's been around a while, but we're not sure if it's multi-platform as well. But it's been around.
No,
a while.
I don't think it is multi-platform. But so yeah, I mean, I don't really know. It could be almost. I mean, it has to be something that fits his physique, unless it's like Super Mario Brothers, where it's animated.
Well, it could be Mario Kart, and he could be Bowser.
We already have a Bowser. Jack Black's playing Bowser in the Mario movie.
Oh shit! Well, there you go. That can't be that then. He's obviously. I don't know.
And again, they can have a whole unconnected Mario universe where they just
it could be
don't really give a shit about each other.
Fuck's sake, I'm tapping out already. Bollocks.
But
go on then. How do we segue from Multiverse Mario into the next news segment, Nick? What have you got there? How do we do it?
This one doesn't really segue. I don't have a segue between these two, but the rest of it I'll segue through. So we have a story from Heat Vision from the Hollywood Reporter that insiders tell them that their first cut that was shown of the Batman was 4 hours long. And last week, I believe I was already complaining about 3 hours. I mean, if the movie warrants it, it's great, but it's going to the theater bathroom thing, especially since I go to the Alamo Draft House where they serve beer. Jammer, as he brought up last week, have you seen the ultimate cut of Batman v Superman? You've obviously, yeah. And it's so much better, even though it's longer, just because it brings stuff back that should have never been cut. And that's my only worry about going from a 4 hour version to a 3 hour version, is that what did they have to lose? Is it something, hopefully it's nothing that causes other parts of the movie not to make sense.
Yeah, I'm not really concerned about that, because I think from my limited understanding of it, it could just be that was the first cut. Here's
almost everything in it,
which is linked together, and then see what scores well with the audience, which scenes or which type of scenes score well. And those scenes probably were too long anyway. They were overextended shots of something and sweeping movement. So okay, this scene worked well with the audience, so we'll keep that scene, but now we'll just trim it down to make it fit the narrative and fit in. So I'm not too concerned about that at all. I'm more than happy to have any length of film, whatever it is, as long as it is, as long as it keeps me engaged and committed and entertained to it. And I know that because I was happy with Dune. I was happy with the length of the recent Dune film, but I know Jammer was fucking bored stiff. So obviously everybody's different about what engages them and what keeps them interested. So if it fits the story and it's not making me bored, then I'm okay with a long one. Fuck, I mean, even stick an intermission in it if you need to. Stick one of those.
Wish they would do that.
Before. It's been a while.
Hateful Eight did.
I remember one in Titanic. It's probably happened since then, but I don't remember.
The only thing I can think of is Hateful Eight. Hateful Eight had an intermission.
Oh, I don't remember. I didn't see that on the big screen. That was a small screen viewing for me. So, well, there you go. There's one.
The only other one I can think of since Titanic.
Yeah, I think the only reason that nowadays that it might piss anybody off is the movie theater owners, because they can only squeeze in so many showings a day, right? As you'll know better.
We used to hate that.
If it's a long old film, you've got 3, and if it's IMAX, then you've only got 1 screen showing the same film like 3 times
a day. That's all you got.
That's all you get. And I'm okay with that. It will stay there longer. But if another film is released within 2 or 3 weeks of that's also on IMAX, it creates a bit of a conundrum for both the movie house and the distributor. Oh shit, we've got to take it off the screen now, and hardly anybody saw it because there was only 3 showings a day possible. So that's more your neck of the woods, though. But that would be a concern, right?
Yeah, I mean,
not that it will only be on IMAX. Obviously, it will be on a regular screen as well, right?
Yeah. Well, I have a version of IMAX at Alamo Drafthouse. It's like their own brand. It's not nearly as big, but it has Dolby Atmos with the speakers on the ceiling. So it's like super surround sound. And yeah, you can only shave off so much time this way, but you could definitely lose up to 20 minutes just by tightening scenes, especially it could be a complete work print where it's like stuff that like the scene doesn't need to have that much dialogue and he can just easily chop it rather than losing a whole plot point. That can only get you so short. But I would totally, as much as I went in not wanting or not expecting to like Zack Snyder's Justice League, I would totally be fine with the closer to 3:45 or however long the trim scenes are, and maybe more plot points on HBO Max or on home video, like the Reeves cut, or just call it director's cut. I hate Zack Snyder had to put his name in front of it instead of just calling it director's cut, but that's me. Did you watch the clip from Batman?
The actual full scene? No, I didn't, and I purposely didn't watch that. I'm okay with the trailer, although sometimes trailers show a little bit too much. We've all watched trailers where we've pretty much felt I've just seen the whole fucking film. I know exactly what's going to happen from start to finish. I haven't had that with the Batman trailers, but I didn't want to watch a whole scene. I actually felt like I wanted to just see that scene in the context of everything that went before it and after it.
I just want to mention one part of it that's hopefully not too much.
Go ahead. I mean,
he doesn't speak. He doesn't speak at all in the scene, but he acts the hell out of Bruce Wayne in that scene because he's like, it's the scene from the trailer where a car barrels in during a funeral and the guy has like a bomb taped to his hand, or a phone taped to his hand, and it's just the minute the car comes through, he's watching this kid who's about his age when his parents died. And as soon as the car comes through, his first movement is to rescue the kid, and almost like, a reflection of his background, where you could definitely tell just through his eyes without him saying a word that he sees his young self in this child. Because I assume the child is also, he's really close. He's like on the altar. So I assume the child's also the one who lost his father or whatever the funeral is for.
His should we say his Batman persona coming out with the instant reaction to help and protect, right?
But it's interesting who he chooses.
I mean, we don't know what version of Bruce Wayne he's going to be. Is he going to be a aloof playboy arsehole, or is he just going to be a slightly more laid-back businessman type thing? We don't actually know what kind of Bruce Wayne he's going to be, do we? Could be the Michael Keaton version, or the version we saw with Christopher Nolan's.
I think he's going to be a super loner, based on other stuff I've heard, because there's also a 24-second scene that starts right before it, but for some reason it's not part of it, and he's being like questioned by a reporter, which is also in the trailer, like, why don't you do more for the city or whatever, like you can it's an ironic scene in the trailer. It's always because And Alfred always says it too. He's like, you could help the city more by being Bruce Wayne,
but
like
then
not
you could by being
Batman.
Batman. Yeah. Spend your billions rather than skulking around at night dressed up in a batsuit.
Yeah, especially since at least the way the Nolan movies pointed out and the comics pointed out is most of the supervillains are a reaction to Batman. Not wouldn't have necessarily have as many. Same with the Avengers. Just being there invites challenge, as Vision says.
Yeah.
Like if they weren't there, they wouldn't. I mean, Thanos would have still done his thing, but there wouldn't have been Ultron.
Yeah.
Like things could have gone differently with Loki and his brother. I mean, and Loki and Thor. Who knows? But now we segue to another DC story.
Go on.
James Gunn, this is the title from Deadline. James Gunn eyeing second Suicide Squad spin-off series for HBO Max and says Peacemaker has a really good chance for season 2. So let's see. His exact quote is, "We're working on something else now, another TV show that's connected to the universe," Gunn told us, which is they've confirmed as the Suicide Squad universe, not like he's not going out and like doing any other character.
So what, a different character from Suicide Squad, or you talking about season 2 of Peacemaker?
I would watch Vigilante TV show. No, you need them together. I don't think Vigilante would work without John Cena, but and he says I can't quite say. So who even survived that movie?
That would be then.
I was gonna say Polka Dot Man would be the one I'd want, but he's very, very dead.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. I think that could be a one-off episode kind of thing. I'm not sure a whole show based on him. I mean, Harley Quinn's been done. I'm not sure Margot Robbie.
I don't want a Harley Quinn show, even though I do like what Margot Robbie's done with the character lately.
I mean, it doesn't have to be a sequel. It could be a prequel. It could be one of their.
That's true.
It could be an origin story of
At
one
first,
of those
I thought Peacemaker would be a prequel because he looks pretty dead in the movie. But I mean, one of his favorite characters and one of most people's favorite characters is Ratcatcher. And her best friend seems to be King Shark. How about a team up show since they have a special connection?
Rat and Shark show. Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, I think if James Gunn is involved, especially if he's behind the camera and involved in writing it, I'm in. I pretty much loved everything he's done so far. So even if it sounds really obscure and it is fucking Rat Boy and Shark Show or whatever it's called with those characters, anybody else coming up with that, you'd be thinking, yeah, that sounds really fucking stupid. But if it's James Gunn involved in it after everything he's done and the great job he's done with Peacemaker, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm in, whatever. If he thinks it's good, it's going to be good. There you go. Can't wait to hear the soundtrack.
You know how it could be, especially since, he loves Nathan Fillion, who played TDK, the detachable kid or whatever, and he's confirmed. He's not confirmed it.
Spoiler alert.
He said,
didn't make it off the beach.
Yeah, he said though that like people are like, oh, he's dead, and he's like, we don't necessarily know if he's dead or not. Like he doesn't say that about Captain Boomerang or anyone else. So he's like, we don't know that. He gave me a prequel show, TDK.
Yeah,
because he loves Fillion. Like I think almost every movie he's worked with him, he had to cut a cameo of him from Guardians of the Galaxy 2. He was playing, I can't remember the character's name before, Kevin Williams. He played Wonder Man, and Wonder Man started as an actor. So there was a movie theater that had a bunch of posters for like multiple of his movies, kind of like the posters you see in Scott Pilgrim of all the different Chris Evans, or whoever he's playing, the boyfriend movies.
Yeah, gotcha.
My other thought is one of the main survivors who is one of my favorite characters is Bloodsport, Idris Elba's character. It's just
I was actually trying to remember if he survived or not, but he did survive. Yeah.
In fact, he shot his bullet through John Cena's bullet, which is what.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. I remember now. Yeah, that's it. Because there was a conversation about whether or not that was possible or not, wasn't it, or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I completely forgot that his character survived. Absolutely, I would be very much down for that, because the way James Gunn did write Bloodsport's script and dialogue, I thought that was pretty damn good. In the same way that he's managed to give Peacemaker lots more character and depth, but keep the humorous side of it with John Cena's great work as Peacemaker. Obviously, Idris Elba can do the same great job again. So that would definitely keep me captivated for a 5 or 6 episode run.
I think that's the least likely one, honestly, knowing Gunn, just because I don't think that is a more straight character.
And it is the more obvious choice, right? It is the hero choice, that's the main guy, and whether or not, for sure. But I'd be happy for that.
I'm gonna say TDK, or I at first I only thought Ratcatcher, but I literally think they would team up King Shark with Ratcatcher, and I would enjoy that very much.
Yeah, well, maybe it'll be the remaining ones that did survive that aren't working for the company, whatever the company's called. Yeah.
And as far as Peacemaker season 2, he says there's a very good chance of that. We're the biggest show in the world right now, he continued, which is true. I don't know how they calculate it all, because not everyone gives out numbers, but it is the most watched show in the world.
Bigger than fucking the Book of Boba Fett. No way.
I think it is. I still think Disney Plus is like, I mean, I think a lot more people have HBO than Disney Plus, just because people had HBO before it was HBO Max.
Are you being American again? Are you like, because everyone's got it where you live?
Oh, I just remember
the only fucking thing in the world.
I remember growing up.
Anybody that's got fucking HBO Max in the rest of the world, but most people have got Disney Plus.
That's true, but
and with your Twitter feed, how much is Peacemaker compared to how much is Boba Fett?
I see way more, just based on how mine's curated. Probably, I see way more Peacemaker talk, and it's not from. I don't follow a lot of DC people. It's like people like Patton Oswalt being like, "Holy fuck, man!" Like Kevin Smith and people like that.
Prove me wrong. Find some statistics. This is where we need a jammer with his statistician shit. But there's no way that Peacemaker is bigger than Boba Fett at the moment.
We'll see.
It's got an audience rating to it too, right? It's not a kid's show. At least, Boba Fett's family friendly, for want of a better word.
Deadpool is one of the biggest, like, huge movie, and it was rated R.
Yeah, but we're talking. You said it was the biggest show in the world currently. Now. Hence the title. Yeah,
I could see more people watching it. I don't know. Again, I don't even know how they get these statistics.
We got someone out there in the radio universe thingy, whatever medium we were listening to us on. Someone give us the answer to this. Maybe go onto the Discord channel. Is Peacemaker bigger than Boba Fett right now? I would love it to be. I don't think it is, but I think more people should see Peacemaker. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, and another amazing segue. I'm just crushing the segues. James Gunn. Now we're moving on to James Gunn talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Well, there must have, but you missed an opportunity there. There must be a pun there about two guns or double guns or something like that. You missed that. Not that good.
Double-barreled
guns now. That's what you needed to do.
I just went on topic. I didn't have a clever lock, stock, and two smoking guns.
There you go.
So his quotes about Garn. Who was he talking to initially on Deadline's Hero Nation podcast? He said, "This is the end for us. The last time people will see this team of Guardians," which he's kind of hinted at before. I mean, obviously they're doing it the Christmas special first, so sounds like an hour. What they've said is necessary viewing, but nothing on Disney Plus has been super necessary so far. Just adds to the world, because that movie even has some of the same locations as. I mean, the Christmas special is some of the same locations even as the movie, not just like their ship, but like planets and stuff. And
I didn't think this was news really. I think we all knew that it was going to be the last one, obviously, and I think we're fully prepared for possibly losing one or two of our beloved Guardians. With this particular quote, I believe he mentioned it being darker.
Yes, that was the part that I thought.
The use of the dark word, more grounded and all that. They all seem to be buzzwords right now. Grounded, more darker, gritty, all that shit. But if it is darker, then you can assume that we are going to lose one or two, possibly, of our Guardians. And we've already speculated, I believe, on who that could be. Drax being one of them, etc. So. Yeah, I don't think this is news much, but it does keep us enticed. It does keep us interested and excited for it.
The dark part was the more interesting part of the quote because, I think that means he's bringing his Suicide Squad idea of losing characters. Like, will Peter Quill sacrifice his life for Gamora, or will Rocket actually die and, Drax gets killed, or any of that would be like, whoa.
And that could be the catalyst for the show, right? That could happen in the first action sequence at the beginning. That could be what leads them on. It could be, rather than being the climax to episode 3, part 3, it could well be the thing that drives them forward. It could be right in the opening act, or certainly in the opening third. So yeah. not really news, but it does remind me that is coming and it's not too far away. The way time is working at the moment in this particular multiverse planet that we're on, Batman was delayed for 3 years, and now it's out in 6 weeks' time or something.
Yeah, it is out soon. Good Lord, because it's almost February.
Yeah, it's February in a couple of days.
It's early March, I think it comes out. March 3rd even? Yeah, dang. Woo. My mic. Sorry, guys. So that leads us, we're still talking Marvel, folks, and we're also talking Dark Marvel because we are talking Moon Knight. Ethan Hunt, not Ethan. I said that last week too. Ethan Hunt.
This is why Mission Impossible has been delayed, is it? Because Ethan Hunt is helping Moon Knight.
Ethan Hunt,
Impossible Mission,
who we discussed has a crazy haircut or wig last week, has revealed some details about his villain. And what's interesting is he based it on the psychiatrist Carl Jung and the infamous cult leader David Koresh, which just, is so part psychiatrist and also part cult leader, which are two things that go together.
Yeah, I think
because you can manipulate
what I
people.
enjoyed about this, because I believe Mr. Ethan Hawke, not Mr. Ethan Hunt, I believe that he was part of the quote was that he was kind of not tired of, but did not want this to be the generic villain, right? He wanted it to be someone that had
that part next
that we could kind of relate to. And those two people that you mentioned there are a great mix, because to be a cult leader, to have that many followers do crazy fucking shit, you have got to be one charismatic person and
who knows enough about
then
to control that people.
Charisma, along with the knowledge of the human psyche and how to adapt, but mold and con people in all senses of the word, or manipulate people, is probably better in this sense, is very, very clever, because that means that you're going to get a lot of people following, and you and I could sit and watch the movie. No, he's got a point. We probably could do that. That's not a bad idea, kind of thing. So that means that this just adds value. This adds more. I can't find the right word now, but it makes me want to see this show more, because we've got a new kind of hero that we talked about last week that is new, dark, no one's seen him before. He's not one of the known Avengers, so to speak, not one of the known Marvel characters. And now we've got potentially a bad guy with some real depth and interest and gravitas, right? And so that just makes this show more and more I'm more and more excited for this show because of it. It's making me happy, very happy.
And actually the psychiatrist part is especially interesting, because as we know from the trailer, Moon Knight has different personalities and is kind of crazy, so that could be how they meet even. And maybe
it could be
like
his psychiatrist.
Certain other psychiatrist we saw in a movie we didn't enjoy was manipulating the main character. So
the film we shall not talk about ever again.
But going back to your here's the quote. I want to say the quote that to where he talks about he doesn't want to just be, some generic villain. Your gut leads you, he explained. The uber rich villain mastermind isn't interesting to me. I love the ones who believe that they're a good person and that's why they have to kill you. That I find really terrifying. And as you learn in film school or even any kind of storytelling, well, of course, obviously, the hero's only as good as his villain, which is why any movie with Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin suddenly kicks it up a notch, even though he is the kind of villain that Ethan Hawke doesn't want to play. But the other thing you learn is that, the best villains, it's supposed to be every villain believes they're the hero of their own story. Like they're not just doing something to be evil. They're doing it to be like, hey, like Killmonger's a great example. Zemo's a great example, where it's like, hey, I don't like super soldiers, or I think that we need to use Wakanda's resources to get back at the colonizers. Something extreme but relatable. Yep.
Yeah. I gotcha. You mentioned Killmonger there. I was never as sold on him as a villain as it seemed like every other person on the planet was. But I do understand where you're coming from. I don't think him as a villain was a bit frustrating for me, but I could see why it is possibly some people's favorite bad guy, so to speak. But I wasn't that impressed. When I keep hearing the news of him coming back for Black Panther 2, I'm like, really? Do we have to, really again? Okay. I'll watch
And
it.
honestly,
But I wouldn't
I
be
think
excited about it.
the his what if episode actually took away from the character. Like, even though he was always playing people the whole time, it just wasn't as convincing as his actions in the
Gotcha.
movie. I know it's not canon. It's canon, but it's different universe. But that
Don't
just
go
wasn't
there.
nearly as
Don't
interesting.
go there. Don't mention the M word.
Speaking of multiverse and Marvel
Fuck
villains,
it.
remember, how they made Electro look cooler, and we were all hoping they'd change the lizard because the lizard looks like Killer Croc, not the lizard from the comics, who has the long snout. I remember when there was the first footage for the Amazing Spider-Man at Comic-Con, but you couldn't watch it online. People were sharing pictures of the lizard, the classic lizard with the big snout.
With the long snout, yeah.
No. They were showing pictures of Killer Croc and saying it looks more like this.
Right. Okay. I don't remember that.
He doesn't have that. And we talked about how they changed Jamie Foxx, and they almost did change the lizard to look more like the comics. Speaking to befores and afters, Spider-Man No Way Home visual effects supervisor Chris Wagner, it's just spelled weird, detailed the design process. The lizard, Dr. Kirk Connors from the Amazing Spider-Man movie, had a very specific design to him, unlike some comic book adaptations. For this movie, we started exploring some new physical changes, and our filmmakers kept him quite similar to the previous designs, incorporating just a few subtle changes. So they thought about fixing his look, like fixing Electro's look, but I guess he's barely in that movie.
Well, I was just going to say, based on how much screen time he had, it was probably a decision that was made on spending that kind of money for a character that's going to be minimal screen time. Money was better spent somewhere else, or more time and effort, not necessarily the money, but the time and effort involved in doing the CGI was probably, it's not like he had such a huge role that it was going to be a big issue.
Final story relates to Spider-Man also, in a way, because he's a previous director of Spider-Man. Sam Raimi talked a little bit about, I had an interview with Variety, and he praised Spider-Man, Toby and the others, and especially Doc Ock and, Alfred Molina and Willem Dafoe. But then they asked him about Multiverse of Madness. So also tying into the multiverse, like I said, they asked him whether the movie was complete. I wish I knew the answer to that question, Raimi said. I think we're done, but we just cut everything. We're just starting to test the picture, and we'll find out if there's something that's got to be picked up. If something's unclear or another improvement I can make in this sort of amount and time left, I'll do it. One thing I know is that Marvel team is they won't stop. They'll keep pushing until it's as close to being great as it could. So I kind of love that response. I mean, most people do reshoots and stuff, but I think they're even doing reshoots now. But he's saying, I find the interesting part of the article about Marvel being like the one that'll be like, no, go get more stuff. Like, we don't stop until it's perfect, because it has a fairly soon release date.
Yeah, I was as you were reading through the quote there, I couldn't help but think, well, that just means that he's not sure what reshoots are going to be needed to be done yet, because he hasn't seen a final cut of the film. But how would I also get the feeling that, like Marvel, like you say, they keep pushing, they want it to be as good as it possibly can be, and we all have opinions about which one's our favorite film. But generally speaking, even our least favorite films are fucking good films. They're just not as good as some of the other ones that we like, right? But with all the stuff that's going on with the multiverses and stuff, they probably, I get the feeling that maybe they film alternate scenes and alternate segments just in case a future show, whether it's a Disney show or a future film, decides to go off on a bit of a tangent, and then they've got this extra, we can insert this scene that has, for example, Dr. Banner in it, and then we'll shoot a scene without him just in case it comes up in She-Hulk or some shit like that, right? I've got the feeling that there's so many people juggling so much stuff with their storylines that they just shoot a shit ton of stuff just to cover all their bases, to give them something to pick from in the future. But ultimately, I think it's just reshoot stuff, and he's not sure how much Marvel want him to reshoot as well as he wants to reshoot, because this is his first film with this particular Marvel studio, right? This particular iteration of it.
Well, Kevin Feige was one of his producers, but he was a very, very low down producer of Spider-Man back then. Amy Pascal was like the head. Now, that's all the news, people. We're gonna Oh, now we got a movie and 2 episodes of TV shows to talk about. We'll start with Book of Boba Fett, because
Boba.
Danny seems the most. I mean, I know Danny loves Peacemaker too, but we've already kind of alluded to some of our favorite parts of the new episode called Return of the Mandalorian. Spoilers this point on. If you don't want to hear about Mando or Peacemaker or Scream 5, Scream Stab 8, you can leave now. Goodbye. But we will be spoiling the stuff, so please, if you don't, you can listen to spoilers if you don't care.
Well, if we're gonna talk, which one are we gonna talk about first? Book of Boba Fett, right?
Yeah, we'll do Book of Boba Fett.
So you could always, if you don't want to know spoilers about Book of Boba Fett, skip forward, however many
long.
seconds it's going to be. Yeah. So don't leave us completely, but just for the
if
next
you want to hear about the
minutes,
others,
yeah. Star Wars, yeah.
So the title is Return of the Mandalorian, and Boba Fett is not in this episode in the slightest, except for sending Fennec.
Yeah, and she was in Mandalorian as well. So if you were just tuning in and watched this episode, it could well have been an episode of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And
it very much was an episode of The Mandalorian. And I loved it. I thought it's definitely my favorite episode of the season, which I find ironic because the title character is not in it.
Yeah.
So we discussed
I loved it too. I was
excuse me.
Based on what happened previous week when we said we're going to need some muscle. As soon as we saw that silhouette behind the plastic sheeting of the butcher shop, it was either Boba Fett or it was either the Mandalorian. And
they teased the theme at the last one too.
Yeah, exactly. So we knew the Mandalorian was going to be in at some point, but we didn't know it was going to be right at the beginning, and we certainly didn't know that it was going to be for the whole episode.
Yeah,
but
I thought he was going to have just the opening.
I had to fucking pause it after he walked out of the butcher shop and said, "Go and help yourself to the cash." I had to pause it to go and get on the phone to tell everybody that we're connected with just how fucking awesome it was. I was so excited about that first 5 minutes. It sounds so weird. I had to stop the show to tell everybody how fucking excited I was. I even said, I don't care what happens in the next 40 minutes or however long the episode was. That first 5 minutes has got me giddy as a school kid. It could have been the worst episode ever after that. I still would have finished it going, that was awesome. Purely because of that opening 5 minutes of Mando wielding the dark saber. It was fucking brilliant.
And cutting himself with it because he's not an expert.
Cutting people in half with it, cutting
people's
heads off with it. Come
on.
Yeah,
and you compare him to Boba Fett, and he's a much better fighter. I know he's much younger.
Yeah, so here we go. But here's the frustrating thing. I know we're going to bounce around, but obviously I get excited about this. We've seen Boba Fett kicking serious ass in an episode of Mandalorian. This was that's why Boba Fett's got this fucking aura about him, a fan-made aura or whatever, based on some books and stuff. And so I was okay with that. But when he kicked ass as Boba Fett in that one of the final episodes of Mandalorian, that was really good. And yet in his own show, he gets his ass handed to him a little bit. Now
Mandalorian kicks more ass in his own show.
No one's immortal. Yeah, no one's a fucking no one's that good. But it's just very frustrating. And then having the Mando come in and fight like he does with the darksaber, without the darksaber, you just think, there's a Mandalorian. There's the one that I know, and I've watched the cartoons. They're fucking immense fighters. They are, trained from birth, basically, to be fighters. And unfortunately, Boba Fett is not weak, but it's like, okay, come on in, Boba Fett, get your head out your ass and fucking start kicking some ass. That was the only frustrating bit, is that there you go. That's the action we want to see from the Mandalorian, not the Mandalorian, a Mandalorian.
And that's kind of the buzz I saw on Twitter afterwards, is that this is what we all wanted. Ironically, we didn't want Boba Fett. We wanted Din. But
we had Boba Fett, and it's not to say he hasn't kicked some ass. I mean, there was the great bit when he was out of his uniform, when he was with the Tusken Raiders, and he was able to kick ass when he first went and got the bikes. Remember when he went and stole the bikes off the biker gang? He showed signs of the fact that he can kick ass. It's not that he's a complete neophyte when it comes to fighting. It's just that now we've seen Mando do it. You think, okay, that's how you do it. But sticking to this episode, it pretty much was an episode of The Mandalorian stuck in the middle of Boba Fett's book.
It's a chapter about the Mandalorian in this book. Like we were discussing last week with Jammer, I think after the show, about do you switch characters in different chapters of a book, or do you like to stick to one narrative?
Yes, that's right. Yes, we did. Yes.
That might have been after the show, but
what
one
else
of the
did you
things.
like? What else did you like about this episode? What else stood out? I mean, we know we like the opening scene, but I love the way it was directed. I love the way that Bryce Dallas Howard
Oh my God.
kept everything in camera, kept it moving slow. The scenes weren't chopped and steady. It wasn't bouncing around. And then those one shots of him going to a new world and getting on board the
Like
transport ship. Getting off the transport, thank you, buddy, onto the disc world, the ring world, walking into the elevator, and the way the camera was tracking and following and then followed him down. I mean, 10 minutes of the show was Mandalorian walking around, and yet it was fucking brilliant. Watching it was brilliant. I was captivated by it. Yeah. Everything that she did with this direction of this episode was fantastic.
People are like, give her a trilogy. And I'm like, stop doing trilogies. Just give her a movie and see if it needs sequels or not. Don't plan a trilogy. Be like, here's
trilogy,
don't announce it as a trilogy, which should be planned out, but like give her a solo movie, not solo, but and then just see if it's popular. And you can always do a sequel to it if you want, rather than saying it's going to be 3 movies. Just do one story, and you can just do sequels in Star Wars if you'd like. That's kind of what Book of Boba Fett is.
Yep.
It's like a spin-off from The Mandalorian.
It's what I wish the sequels to the Skywalker trilogy were. I wish they had just been it would have been The Force Awakens. That would have been an episode. And then another film, Last Jedi, could have been another episode. Didn't have to be 3. It could have been one of 7. And then that would have been so much better. It could have been, but the fact that they tagged it as episode fucking 7, it hamstrung them immediately, just calling it episode 7. If it had been episode 1 of the Rey saga, for want of a better word, brilliant. Because that saga could have ran for 20 films. And then we didn't have to rush. Killing Snoke wouldn't have been a problem. The Emperor coming back wouldn't have been a problem. And so I agree. Let's not go trilogy. Let's just give us a few more episodes. Let's see what she wants to do.
She's done. Whatever. I think she's done some of my favorite episodes in every season of Mando.
Yeah.
And this. For some reason, I knew it was her when there was a scene that looked very much like a Jurassic Park reference, where the lady who works on his ship is getting dragged, like the guy in the beginning of Jurassic Park. Even though I was like, wait, her father didn't direct Jurassic Park, but she is in Jurassic World. So that was a very much remind me of the first scene of the original Jurassic Park, where he's like, shoot her. She's just like, the guy's just holding on because she was doing that. She's like, help me, droids. And she got yanked around the corner. So as I alluded to earlier, one of the things I really liked is it's filling in the history I know a little about, showing us the destruction of Mandalore, which I've heard about, but seeing it in live action was really cool. Again, I like that they're bringing everything together, even the stuff I didn't like before, to make the world feel the galaxy, different eras feel more connected, not necessarily the characters. We had some K2SOs. We're doing fighting. Like you said,
they were cleaning up. Really, they weren't really fighting much. They were just putting people out of their misery.
Kyle didn't like it because it was too much like the Terminator, and the Terminator is Earth-based. but I loved it. I love that.
I love humans in it. The show is full of humans. As far as we know, humans are only from planet Earth. What the fuck? So are we gonna get pissed off about everything that's a human now? Humans, they're from Earth, therefore everything is about Earth.
Yeah,
that's a weak argument. It did immediately. I thought Terminator, but I, like you, thought, but it looked great. It reminds us of the Night of Rain. I can't remember what that sequence was called, but I thought it looked beautiful, and it looked beautiful not because the planet was being destroyed, but the way it was actually shot and done was.
And the colors.
It was one of those moments where you kind of felt sad, right? You thought, "Fuck, that's pretty bad." They pretty much nuked this planet because it's the only way to be sure, right?
Yeah,
that's pretty much what happened.
And it relates to the history of the prophecy of the dark saber, which is if someone earns it and fight, then they are prophesized to be some sort of hero that will lead Mandalore, like new Mandalore. And Bo-Katan or whatever, she was given it. Yeah.
Well, so it's not like it has some sort of magical, even though I think it is sentient as a blade, but I it's more of a symbol, and it's a symbol that Mandalorians follow. It's not like Luke is the chosen one, that kind of thing. It's more like a on-planet prophecy that because the dark saber is
good luck or bad luck
lightsaber that's made by the only ever Mandalorian Jedi.
Yeah, I thought that was cool when she said that.
Yeah, and that's cool, but it just means who wields it's a symbol. There are someone that is worthy. Winning in a fight is part of the thing that all the Mandalorians follow. That's why Bo-Katan didn't take it when she was first offered it in a previous episode of the cartoons. But from what I recall, Mando did win it off of Moff Gideon.
Yeah, he did. He won off. Then he tried to give it to her at the end of Mando, and she was like, "No."
And now you know why she doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Now you understand why she doesn't want to take it. She's had it. It didn't work out very well, and therefore she's loath to take it again. But I did hear and did see, and I know someone like Cam would fill me in on the blanks on this. But even though Moff Gideon didn't necessarily win it in a fight himself, that doesn't mean that it then doesn't go to Mandalorian, because he did win it in a fight, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Just because the person you won it off didn't get it in a fight doesn't mean that you can't get it off of him in a fight. That chain is not broken. It simply says you need to win it in a fight.
Yeah.
So if you win it in a fight from someone that stole it, that doesn't matter. You won it in a fight with that person. So that's how I read it, which is why I do believe that Mando can wield it should he choose to. And you saw a reason why he struggles when he was going through the training with the armorer, right?
Don't fight the blade, fight your opponent.
Yeah.
And then,
but I do think he can wield it. I think it is his. I believe he won it fair and square, so therefore he can wield it. Yeah,
because he's honest with her every time. She asked him that, and he's like, "Yeah, I did." I mean, and she even tells her it was Moff Gideon. He's not even just like,
and he told her the truth about him taking.
Yeah, because that was
right? If he's going to lie about that, he wouldn't lie about that. So absolutely,
that's why I'm saying you like he says he took off the helmet, and he's no longer considered part of that clan of Mandalorians.
Like, he's that was interesting that she asked him then. I was wondering, in my headcanon, here's how I think that scene fits. It's because he won the challenge, right? He beat the challenge. The other guy...
He beat the guy who's like, my ancestor made that.
Yeah, so he won that challenge. So in my headcanon, the armorer is asking a certain set of questions because he had won that challenge. And she would have asked those questions of anyone at any point. If he had said yes, or sorry, no, I think that part of their ritual would have been for her to do something, print on his armor or give him a badge or I don't know, give him a pat on the back. I don't know. Because it seemed really odd to ask that question then when he's clearly been there for a few fucking hours already, right? Or days even, but we don't know, but hours. So to suddenly say, oh, by the way, have you taken your helmet off? Yes. Oh, well, fuck off. Yeah. Well, couldn't you have asked me that first before you made me sit here and go for all that kind of shit? But in my headcanon, it's because they had that fight that she was asking those questions. If they hadn't had that challenge, she wouldn't have asked them.
I think it's interesting, the comment about Vespar is meant for, isn't that what it's called? No,
Vespar,
the not called that.
The
Vespar. Yeah, I was starting with the V. I was probably thinking of Bond and Vesper. But that's not meant to be a weapon. Only armor. So he turns it into something for Grogu, which, and obviously you could tell he's an unhappy motherfucker without Grogu. Like Grogu gave him purpose. Now he's just like he's back to being the cold bounty hunter who seems kind of miserable.
I think he's gonna go and take Grogu back away from Luke, which is why Grogu's not on the planet when Kylo Ren goes ballistic and kills everybody.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. They set up either the next episode or the next season, which I
think it's going to be the season. This is the Mandalorian season. It's not.
I think you're right, but then we'd be going back in time, which is kind of weird. But I don't know. Maybe the Mandalorian eats it and Boba Fett.
After. Yeah, well, we don't know. I mean, maybe something happens in the next episode, which means he can't go on that journey straight away, and he has to stay on Tatooine before he goes, so to speak. Maybe something happens in the next episode. Something
assassination attempt. We've already had like a million assassination attempts.
Yeah, Fennec says, "No, you can't. We'll help you with your journey, but you really must help us now." So Mando says, "Oh fuck, okay, it can wait another day or 2 days or a month or whatever it is."
As far as like tying other stuff in, I love that his new ship is one of the original guard, the Queen's guard ships.
The Starfighters.
Yeah, they're like bringing in stuff without it being annoying. to me.
Yeah. No, I loved it. We've had this discussion. This is one of the reasons why you were tapping out sometimes. I love the throwback stuff. I love the nostalgia bits and pieces. It makes me smile. I'm super giddy about it. So when that Naboo Starfighter came out, I knew exactly where that was. I know exactly what there's. That's this one, that, and the other. And then they did the mods to it and stuff. I thought it was, from that point of view, I thought it was great. Some people might say it was fan service. I don't care. I'm a fan. Service me.
That's and that's why, God, that's why I like the way they're doing it now. It's just like, yeah, this robot exists still in this time period, and yeah, here's a K2SO from Rogue One. Like, yeah, it's all. Here's the alien species you saw for the first time in like Rise of Skywalker or something.
Yeah.
Just kind of, yeah, it's the, I always complain about it's always the same fucking characters all the time, or always Jedi, but it's like, it's cool when they acknowledge like, hey, here's even the pit droids are from episode 1.
Yep.
The ones that we've seen since Mando, and she fucked a
Jawa. Yeah.
He fucked the Jawa.
When she was speaking Jawa and was just saying, I dated a Jawa. Very furry. Very furry.
Oh, yeah. Very furry. We know what they're like underneath for the first time, which you think is somebody that pisses off Star Wars fans. They're like, I had a vision in my head. But I just love that. And I know people complain a lot about the scene where Han Solo is speaking Wookiee in Solo.
Yeah.
So they probably have the same complaint about this, but I find it hilarious, especially when she's speaking Jawa.
It perfectly. Let's be honest, if you're living on Tatooine, where Jawas clearly also exist, whether they live there or they came there, I don't know, you would learn another language. I don't know why that's a challenge. Now, you could argue that we don't have the same vocal cords to be able to create the same sounds, but from a real point of view, for example, I moved to the Middle East. Learning some Arabic is fucking essential to my existence.
Yeah.
So living on a planet like Tatooine, if Jawas are native, Star Wars fans out there, tell me if they're native to the planet Tatooine or not. Learning the language of a native species that's going to help you in your job, fixing shit, spaceships, whatever, electrical, mechanical stuff, it makes sense you'd learn their language. It totally makes sense, whatever you're dealing with. Why Han Solo knows Wookiee, we don't know that, because as far as we know, he's never met. He's been a slave on that planet, working as a little fucking Oliver Twist thief for that person on that planet, wherever he's on. So how much of Solo I remember, but I don't know when he's had interactions with Wookiees or why he needed to have interaction with Wookiees. That was never explained.
I think
knowing another language is not a problem for me, but that Tatooine one makes total sense. Doesn't make a lot of sense why Han Solo knows Wookiee unless something happened to him before the movie that we saw that had him dealing with lots of Wookiees. That was never explained.
Solo, the 10-year-old kid. They almost cast like a 10-year-old kid as Solo in the prequel trilogy. But maybe that's one of the things they decided against.
Yeah, maybe there were some Wookiees that were also captured and used as little street urchins, and one of them was his best mate until he got killed in a freak yachting accident. We don't know.
Are you ready?
I'm okay with humans learning other languages in the Star Wars universe. That's fucking hell. That's an easy thing to gloss over.
Are you ready to close this book and move on to Peacemaker?
I'm not prepared to close this book because we got another 2 chapters, but I'm certainly happy to turn
this
the page.
Week.
I wish it
opened up like those. I wish it opened up like those old Disney movies where like Snow White, where like a book literally opens and
Once
then the
upon a time in a sandy planet, long, long way away, there was a Mandalorian and he had a friend.
Well, here's a funny meme I saw before. This is my final piece about it. Someone posted the logo for the Mandalorian, but took off the DeLorean part, so it just said the man because he's no longer a Mandalorian. Well, he is, but he's not part of their sect. Like Bo-Katan, she's part of the group that takes off her mask all the time. So I actually would like to lead into seeing him without the helmet more, because Pedro Pascal is a fantastic actor and he doesn't need to be behind the mask. Yeah, that's true. He's like, hey, I'm shooting Wonder Woman 3 now.
Story-wise, there's no reason why he can't take his helmet off now, right?
Unless he just really still sticks with it. But yeah, now that he's probably going to be better allies with Bo-Katan, he doesn't need. It would be nice to see his face. So, Boba Fett takes off all the time, but because it's more of like when you're in battle, you put it on because it has heads-up displays and it's armor.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, protects your head, and you can use it like the Predator for anywhere. But yeah, are we going to the movie or the other show?
Let's do Peacemaker, and then we'll talk Scream 5. Scream. How did you think of Peacemaker this week?
The only reason I'm hesitating to answer that is because I've enjoyed every episode pretty much the same. There's not been one episode which has stood out from the others. Right, we're on episode 5 now, and I've just enjoyed them all. They've all seemed to be very much not. I'm not saying each episode is the same, but there's not one standout episode. I am enjoying how the team is coming together. There was a really nice moment about how they actually finally all bonded together with the spoilers now, people, if you tuned in.
Again, we're spoiling.
Book of Boba Fett. But so I'm enjoying that. So, to cliche it a little bit, the character development is quite nice. It's nice to see them all moving forwards a little bit.
Rocking together on the way
we're
back.
All fairly, no one will be surprised that we finally know how the story of the gorilla escaping from the zoo, how that pans out.
That was my theory of how it would pan out, is they put a butterfly in him and then he'd be smart and he'd be like, then they name him like Charlie or something, where they're like,
I can't remember. Yeah, they did give him a name.
They referenced him and then he popped out.
We've got a Charlie, whatever it was. And we also learned that when you've got a butterfly in your head, you become 5 times stronger, 10 times stronger. So imagine a gorilla that's already 10 times stronger than a human is now 10 to fuck that. That's pretty powerful. I love the episode. I'm enjoying it fantastically. It's not my favorite. It's not my least favorite, whatever. They're all very much the same. I'm loving it. And a slight side note why I enjoy it, the music. I'm an old hair metal fan myself. So to hear bands like Tiger Tails and Choir Boys and things like that every week with a new song and a new song that I remember and recognize, that's been fucking awesome too. So yeah, overall, great show.
Yeah, I think some of the highlights for me, and what's her face is still up to no good, planting the diary. Like whenever you think she's being a great person, there's always some catch.
But it was his diary though, right? It did look like it was his.
I don't remember the importance of the diary from earlier.
Well, no, but it says the Peacemaker's diary or Chris's diary. So it's his diary that's being put back in the... When I first saw that bit, when she said, have you put the diary in his house, I thought they were planting evidence.
I still think that might be...
But it seems to be his diary.
Well, it could have been
maybe
faked.
It's planted for him to find it and learn something from it. Maybe it's not as nefarious as we are first thinking. I'm thinking it's something to help him remember something, or I think she's using him. That's for sure.
Well, I think her mom definitely is Amanda Waller.
Yeah, she's definitely manipulating him somehow. I don't think she's setting him up. I think she's using him.
And then the X-ray vision helmet was fantastic, especially the first moment where he blows off someone's head just as she's talking to them. She's like, what the fuck? He's like, I can see it. Like there was something in her head. And then, of course, at the end, she uses it to see that Merc is a butterfly. And he attacks her. That's how the episode ends. But yeah, I love the camaraderie. I love the line of like, you could have picked 1,000 different people to frame.
Oh, that was brilliant. I've got this feeling that John Cena went off for ages and they did lots of them. And that was just one particular scene that James Gunn decided to keep in because there was a little end credit scene.
Yeah, where that more alternate
stuff. It's brilliant. And again, it just goes back to what we touched on earlier, just what a great job John Cena is doing with this character, because his comic timing is brilliant. And when he was a wrestler, I don't know, maybe he still is, but when he was John Cena, the wrestler, his charisma as that character, I know he wasn't loved by everybody, but much like The Rock, his ability to string sentences together and be coherent, but also to be quite funny, was brilliant as the wrestler. And that's clearly, he's clearly becoming a very, very good actor in that sense, because his ability to do that off the cuff like that, remember all that stuff and deliver it with such comic timing, it's great. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm liking the show so much, because John Cena is doing such a great job with the character.
And even though he works with people like Chris Pratt and stuff, James Gunn says there's almost no improv or improvisation in his shows and movies. But he's like, I think in this one, there would be about 3% of it's not my script, it's improv. And that's the most I've ever had in one of my projects. That definitely felt like a scene where he didn't remember all those names that were in James Gunn's script. He just going off. And there are a few he had to hit, like Amy Winehouse. She's dead, you asshole.
Yeah.
And I love that him and Economy or whatever his last name is close to that, but Diebeard was they are friends by the end because he's the one who gets to chainsaw the gorilla. And he's like, that was badass, man. And they're like the same band.
Yeah, they become friends because he links with him because he's got a tattoo of his favorite band, which is the Sweden hair metal band. Yeah. So yeah.
And then the way home, yeah, it's great. Just takes a picture of them. They're all part of the same like chat group. Yeah. Something bad's gonna happen to one of them.
Yeah, for sure. No, and it could well be. It could well be. How many episodes is this show?
8.
Okay, so we've only got 3 left.
Yeah. So
it is about time the stakes got a bit higher. Now will be the time that either a big bad was revealed or someone was taken out. So yeah,
we did see a shit ton of butterflies this episode. So
yeah, but we also saw how many butterflies are spread across the globe in the previous episode. Yeah, so
but the stakes were already higher. This one, they had to fight a bunch of them. Like we saw one in the first episode who we knew had super strength. But and I also like that they're pulling the strings still to keep the dad in prison, even though he's
that was
obviously
pretty fun.
innocent.
That was pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
But I think we saw the suit. I bet he's in the end. The butterflies aren't going to be as important as him getting back in his what looks like an Iron Man suit.
There's got to be Robert Patrick. Is it Robert Patrick? Robert Patrick. There's got to be him in that suit, right? In that white dragon suit that's in the multi-quantum.
Yeah, the room that's like we're. What Vigilante is like? This shouldn't exist.
Or that's a story that's just hinted at as and when they hope a season 2 will be made. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's season 2. But overall, it was a great episode, super fun. I'm loving the character stuff, as I've already said. The action is great, the humor is great. I'm loving the dropping of the F-bomb every 5 seconds. I've got no problem with that at all. It's a great show, and going right back to one of the news pieces, whatever character from the Suicide Squad he's going to do next, I'm in. It's going to be fun.
James Gunn knows what he's fucking doing.
Yeah,
he should be handed the keys to the DC universe.
I know. Well, I think that's a dangerous game about. You can't give one person the keys to the universe.
Well, like he could be like a Feige. He's not making all the movies.
I see what you mean. So like the puppet master a little bit, potentially. But at the moment, he's got the freedom to jump in and out of Marvel as well, right?
And he's always said he has free reign to obviously they're not going to have him kill Batman or something. But we do know. You watched Harley Quinn, right? The animated show?
No, I haven't.
Kite Man's the main character. He killed Kite. It's reference that he killed Kite Man.
HBO Max. Sorry, I missed that. Say again.
They reference that he probably killed Kite Man. The article says he was apprehended, but we know that Peacemaker doesn't just apprehend people. And he's one of the main characters in Harley Quinn. He's even engaged to Poison Ivy at one point. Like he's a main character. But and this, they keep referencing other characters, even Batmite. But to see an article about Kite Man, I was like, no, I even tweeted James Gunn, you bastard, you killed Kite Man in the DCEU. But ready to move on to spoilers for Scream.
This isn't funny, Amber.
Would you like to play a game, Tara?
Doors unlocked. All doors locked. Doors unlocked.
Hello?
It's happening. 3 attacks so far. Do you have a gun?
I'm Sydney Prescott. Of course I have a gun.
Something about this one just feels different.
Samantha?
I know who you are.
I've been through this a lot. This is your life now, which means that whoever this is gonna keep coming for you. You ready? For this? Never.
Yeah, let's touch on it. It's not the greatest film for me, or sorry, franchise. I apologize if you're listening. Not the greatest franchise for me. I think it's more your neck of the woods. But yeah, let's do it. Let's wrap it up with a Scream chat.
I love the first two. I watch people watching movies more than I watch movies these days. Like, you know, like those reaction videos where it's like, I'm watching this movie for the first time and they like just show some of their reactions, like the biggest scenes. I kind of feed off that. Even though I used to make fun of people who watch like Twitch, who watch video game streamings rather than play video games. I do that with movies. But that's the only way I've seen Scream 3 and Scream 4 in the last 10 years, was watching those videos before I saw this. Scream 1 and 2 were fantastic. I was certainly surprised with this, especially after Scream 4. I did not expect it to be as good as it was. I really liked it. I will consider it the third Scream movie and just erase the other two, because I really feel like it lived up to the first two. And, you know, all the conversations about requels, like comparing it to like The Force Awakens and Ghostbusters and stuff, where it's like, yeah, you have your legacy characters and then your new young people. And I like that, like, Scream 3 is dumb because the killer is someone you've never seen before. He's Sydney's half brother, because their mom was a whore. Not a literal whore, but like she gets called that. That's why she was murdered even. Scream 4, it's about her niece or something, and she's actually the killer too, and she tries to kill herself because she wants to be the new Sydney and have books and stuff made about her. And this one's kind of similar, but it does tie everyone back to the original two movies, as in they're all related to someone who was in the original two movies. Most of the victims, like the police chief was just a police officer under Dewey in Scream 2, and in this, she and her son bite it. Yeah. And then
so the film, so it is a revisit of the Scream franchise, as you can obviously imagine, and it does follow. From the very first scene, it does follow the first Scream movie. There's a young lady at home alone for whatever reasons, and the phone rings. So straight from the very beginning, I feel it was following in the footsteps, but being very careful to also step in those same footsteps, but then step out of them occasionally too. So one of the things,
the twists with the technology,
like
being able to unlock a door.
3 or 4. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the apps to control your door locks and stuff like that. So I think
they very much use modern day technology to change up some of the formula.
Yeah, and I thought that was great. It does bring it into the year 2020 rather than whenever the first one came out. I know I've seen number 3 and number 4. I don't remember anything.
Yeah, I didn't
them.
Until I watched someone else watching them.
I literally went to see this film because there was nothing on the big screen and I wanted to go and watch it. I watched it in an empty cinema. I was the only person there.
One other person.
And I enjoyed it for what it was. I enjoyed it for another Scream movie. It did exactly what it said on the tin. It had some twists to it. Well, I mean, that's, even though we normally talk spoilers, let's not spoiler it, but we will. They do a very good job of being meta in the sense that everyone's in the room at the same time and you know that one of them is the killer. They even allude to which one it could be, and they give you reasons why it could be any of them or one of them, and they go through the whole discussion. So that was really clever. I love the reference to a certain Mr. Johnson's films about knives and how he can ruin fandom by making one film, etc. So I hope that Jammer does get to see this film, even if it is just for that one scene.
He doesn't.
But then it follows the standard, right? People get stabbed, people get murders. There's some fake jump scenes. There's some.
I think that's what they're the best at.
Yeah,
and the first film and this one, like they had every cliched one you could have. There's like the shower, like the mirror, like all the fridge, and nothing there. Yeah, until there is something.
Which is once there's nothing there, but twice there's nothing there. 3 times there's nothing there.
But you're still like, oh fuck,
there's still nothing there because the jump is coming afterwards. I thought it, for what it was, I think it's a great Scream film. Whether you're a fan of Scream films will dictate whether or not you'll like it or not. If you're a fan of the Scream franchise, this one, like you, will be one of your favorites. If you're not that fussed by them, it'll be just another one and you'll think it's the same as all the others. And I would totally understand that viewpoint as well. But this was a particularly good example of a Scream film. I'm glad I watched it.
Yeah, me too. The only reason I probably saw it at theaters, even though I was excited, is that you went and I'm like, oh, I should go this week and we can talk about it. And even Jonesy went, even though he couldn't be here with us today. I will say, in the age where meta's being overdone, I think it did a really good job with the meta, conversations about requels. And God, my favorite part of it is it's also about the conversation about fandom. And one character's like, there's no such thing as a toxic fandom. He's like, that's ridiculous. Fans just want what they want.
It was brilliant. It was that whole scene, or there was a couple of scenes, but the one longer scene that touched on that, it could have been our chat at LRM on any Slack channel any day. It could have been exactly that. And I think that's what Screen does. Even in the original, remember, he talks about the formulaic of horror movies. That's it. So it made sense that they did it in this one, but they did it a lot better than that film that we do not talk about, the one we reviewed recently, where they went meta to the point where it was parody, and that was fucking useless. But in this one, very clever. Script was very clever. You could tell it knew itself, tell it was self-referential, but you didn't feel like it was taking the piss and diluting it, making it less of a film. Very clever. The script was very clever. And
I also, well, my last thing I'll say about it, since we seem to be wrapping up, is I'm a huge fan of Jack Quaid, who was the boyfriend.
Right, the boyfriend, yeah.
Yeah, friend. And I was very happy he's in most of the movie. I won't say how far or how low he gets through it. But I just love him he voices Boimler on Star Trek Lower Decks. And he's the star of the boys. Like, Billy Butcher is doing most of the work, but he's like the heart of the boys, the normal person being brought into that.
Yeah, world. I would say he's the star. I agree with you. He's the heart of the boys, but I don't think he's the star. I think it's either the Butcher or the Superman guy.
So I think I can only remember seeing him in those three things, these including Scream, but ever since the boys, just like I love seeing Carl Urban long before the boys, who we discussed earlier from Dune and Dread. I love seeing Jack Quaid pop up and stuff now. Yeah, no, it's good. Would you recommend it? I would recommend it if you're a fan of the Scream franchise for sure. If you like the first two, I don't feel like this one's going to be a letdown like 3 or 4. But still, just some people are like, that's not my Scream or something. Exactly. Well, and some people just aren't interested. I'm not a horror fan really, but this is a little bit different, so that's why I would have gone. Yeah, I'm not a horror fan at all either. I like the Scream formula. Halloween films, but they just piss me off because he keeps coming back alive. I mean, how the fuck does that work? I would never watch those movies just because they're scary. Scream, I didn't have any jumps in a theater. Like, it was just fun to watch. I'm not really. It's more about I enjoy it because it's self-referential and meta, and it knows what it's doing. But yeah, are we done? We're done, dude. All right, everyone. That was the dynamic duo doing Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast. Danny, where art thou be foundeth? You'll find me as usual in Dubai, and this weekend I'll either be watching Bestsellers with Michael Caine or Nightmare Alley, the new film from Guillermo del Toro. Nice. And I'm at Geeky Nick Doll, and I also do on Twitter, I also do Marvel Multiverse Madness with Kyle, which I'll be recording in an hour or so. We did Deadpool last week. This week we're doing Logan, because we're doing the 2 best X-Men movies before we do a full commentary, which will put a little gap in our show because Kyle has to edit it. We're doing a full commentary of the best Deadpool / Wolverine movie, X-Men Wolverine Origins. So wow. We're doing it because it's the worst one. Oh my God. The best bit in that film is when he gets on the bike and the bike crumples under his weight because it shows that he's made of adamantium. I don't even remember that. That's it. That's the best bit in the film, is when they reference the fact that he must be a heavy motherfucker when he gets on the bike. Which you never think of normally. Other than that, shit show. Yeah, absolutely. That's why we're doing it. And other than that, you can find this podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. There's the genre. Follow us on Twitter or SoundCloud. There's the Genreverse Podcast Network. There's also we also have a YouTube channel where you can watch the show, but it'll be a still picture, or watch any of the shows Kyle does. There's video with it. And we also need a lot of subscribers over there. And there are a lot of other great shows. Kyle does an anime show, a Star Wars show, a daily show. We do this. So check all that out anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you would leave us a like or a good review, if it's, on iTunes or Spotify. I know you can't do reviews on a lot of the other streaming services. Please do. So with that, hasta lasagna.
Hasta lasagna. Did you just say hasta lasagna?
Hasta lasagna.
Just end the show. It's over. Mission
Don't get any
done.
Anya.
That's
why I
not.
said-
What?
And then mission accomplished.
Oh, that bit. I couldn't remember the order. That was the challenge. Anyway, so
I almost forgot too. That's why I said mission, and I was like, no, hasta lasagna. And you were supposed to say don't get any Anya, but it's done. Mission failed.